Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Erdley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome to episode number 77 of the Resilient Retail Game Plan. I'm your host, Catherine Erdley, as well as the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, which is my membership for product businesses. You can find out more at resilientretailclub.com. And if you go to resilientretailclub.com/plan2022, then you'll be able to sign up to join in with our free 5-day challenge. It's going live on Monday, the 24th of January. So there's just enough time. If you're listening to this just as the podcast is released, you've got time to come along and join us. It's going to be a fantastic 5 days full of fun activities, lots of community, lots of talking to other product businesses and bouncing ideas off them. And it's one of the best things that I do in my business, one of the things that I love the most. I can't wait to share it with you. So do come along and join us at resilientretailclub.com/plan2022. It's completely free to sign up. You're free to come along and join in as little or as much as you like. The tasks are very short, so if you're busy, you'll only need a few minutes each morning to watch the video and then complete the task. But if you've got time to come spend a little bit more time with us next week, to meet other product businesses, to have a chat with them about their plans for 2022, and to put together a really solid plan for your own business, then you won't be disappointed. Today's episode, I wanted to focus a little bit about what does success look like in 2022. So we've talked in previous episodes about various different things with the year coming up. I've talked about retail trends. I've talked about product trends, talked about what happened last year, what we think is going to happen this year. But in this episode, I wanted to take a slightly different angle. One of the things that I get asked quite a lot is, what are the sort of secrets for success, if you like? What actually defines a successful product business? I work with a lot of businesses, either one-to-one or in the membership. I spend a lot of time talking to product businesses directly, as well as all of the research and reading and writing that I do about the industry. So people are always interested to hear kind of some of the big themes behind the businesses that have been really successful, the ones that have been growing. Because although 2021 was up and down for a lot of different people, it was definitely a year that a lot of people also continued to see growth. It's wrong to say that it was a tough year for everybody. And of course, human beings, we like to know, is there a secret solution? What are the kind of key characteristics? And that's what I wanted to run through today. Spoiler alert, if you've heard me talk before about this type of thing, you'll know that there is no such thing, in my opinion, as this silver bullet or the amazing solution that's going to make everybody's business suddenly successful. But at the same time, when I was preparing for this episode and really thinking in depth about the people who've done well over the last year or last 2 years, then there are definitely some key themes, and that's what I want to run through today. So, what will success look like in 2022? Frankly, the people that have been able to build their business most robustly, who've been able to continue to invest in their business as well as actually pay themselves from their businesses, it all comes down to profit margin. Profit margin continues to be really, really important. I know I talk about it a lot, but I think as we go into 2022, it's just, you can't escape from it. The better the profit margins that you have on your products, the easier it is for you to take on additional costs in your business, whether that's people helping you out or a studio or more ads, whatever it is, whatever you need for your business, or paying for more stock up front. It's always easier the better your profit margin is. And that's not just the profit margin that you get when you purchase the stock in. So say you bought it for £5 and you're VAT registered, you sell it for £12. then you're going to be making £5 profit. 'Cause take off the VAT, you're getting £10 net and you paid £5 for it. So in theory, there's a theoretical in margin of 50%, if you like. But equally as important is your out margin. So when you look at your sales figures, how much did you actually make? The in margin is really important. That's how you should set up your pricing, your structure. Always be looking at that. Every time you create or select a new product, you should be clear and aware of what your profit margin is when you purchase it or commit to it or make it. But equally, you want to be watching those sales margins as well. Your sales margin is the actualized margin. Many people will have, for example, a 10% discount every time you sign up to your newsletter. You might be doing other offers as well. So even if you have got a 50% in margin or a 70%, if you're somebody who's got stronger margins, or even some people are up in the 80s, you also want to know what your actual sales margin is and just watch that. Keep watching it, keep tracking it, because definitely the people who found it the easiest are the people with the best margins. It's absolutely 100% true. If you have got decent margins built into your business from the get-go, it's going to make things so much easier. I've seen people who've grown really well, but they have really tight profit margins, even some people who are in the 40s and even in the 40s to start with. And it just always ends up feeling really tight and really difficult for them, because as soon as something goes wrong, they need to clear some stock or some cost goes up, then it starts getting very, very tight indeed. So for sure, 100%, one of the things that marks out the businesses that have found it the easiest, who've breathed the easiest, if you like, over the last couple of years, it's definitely the ones with the highest profit margins. So keep tracking them, keep checking every time you agree to bring in a new product or to create a new product, make sure you know what it is, but also keep watching your sales margin so you understand each month, ideally, what your actual sales margin is, and look for places where you might be losing profit in the business. Do you have to have a 10% code for your emails? Is there anything else you can offer that isn't that kind of discount? How much of your stock are you having to sell at a reduced price? These are all areas where you can really shore up the profitability in your business. Of course, one of the most difficult things about the last couple of years has also been price increases. The cost of everything is going up. Cost of materials, cost of transport, cost of postage, cost of cardboard, cost of other types of packaging. Absolutely everything has increased. I've spoken to a lot of people who've been through this. I think the important thing here is, again, to keep looking at it. So if you did your profit margins even 6 months ago, do you need to revisit them with the latest invoices from your packaging companies, for example, to really understand how much your boxes, your stickers, your tissue paper, all of those small elements that can add up over time, making sure that you're watching that and you're checking it and you're making sure that your pricing is still correct in order to help you generate the margins that you need. Now, I'm not a big believer in just increasing your prices willy-nilly just to improve your margins, but the truth is that some people have been absorbing increases of 30-40% in their cost of their products for a couple of years now, and it just does get to the point where you can't absorb it anymore. So equally, if you do this analysis and you realize that your profit margins are just really tight, then you may well have to relook at your prices and also redo any analysis that you might have done previously. So for example, if you did a competitor analysis, again, 6 months ago, a year ago, looking at other people's prices, check them again, because the chances are very likely that they may have already put their prices up. When I was doing the research for the Forbes article on the 2022 retail trends, I had some commentary come in from the British Retail Consortium, and their take was that prices are going to be going up, so you need to have a clear plan in place about what you're going to be doing about it, how you're going to communicate it. There's two different schools of thoughts about communicating price increases if you do have to do them. One is that you let your customers know, you give them a period of time, you say the prices are going up at the end of the month. Please be aware, if you want to get in at this price, you'll need to purchase now. That is certainly an option, and it can be quite a nice sales driver as well if people get in to get those prices before they increase. And some people prefer to just increase them on the basis that, especially if they're just £1 or £2 here and there, customers may not even notice. My experience is that customers, generally speaking, are a lot less observant about prices than we think they are. They are just not as tuned in to our businesses as we are, which makes perfect sense. I think we probably all realize that we spend all of our time and effort and energy thinking about our businesses, but our customers don't really. So it's entirely up to you which approach you feel is more appropriate should you decide that you need to increase your prices. But for sure, one of the key things for this year, one of the best ways you can get yourself off on the right foot is to be really clear about your pricing, be really clear about your profitability, and just make sure that you're not setting yourself up to fail. Because the hard truth is if you are having 30, 40% margins before you've even started selling, if your prices just aren't really set up correctly, then it is going to be much, much harder for you to cover the other costs in your business. There are exceptions to that, of course, if you've got very high price items. So if you're making 30% on something that costs £1,000, then that's generally more workable. But then, of course, usually you're selling a lot lower volumes. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. But the first thing I would say in terms of success, when people ask me genuinely who's been doing well and how have they been thriving in the last couple of years, one of the key things is that the people with the highest profit margins generally have the easiest time. So just think about that for your business. The second element for success is an ability to learn and review their own data. So learn, adapt, review. As I said, there isn't really a silver bullet. There isn't one thing that I can say to every single person, you need to do this, possibly the exception of making sure their profit margins are okay. But people often think that there's a set formula you can follow. But I would say it's not necessarily about a set formula as much as it is about a set of skills. And one of the skills that successful businesses have mastered is the ability to review and respond to the data that they're getting from their own businesses. This is about having a regular review cycle, whether that's a monthly cycle. That's something that we've started doing in the club. Last year, we started having a monthly review session where everyone comes along and we work through what happened the previous month and put a plan in place for the next month. But this is a really, really important skill for you to learn as a product business owner. And the people who do this really well typically are the ones whose businesses do the best as well. It's about following the cues that the customer is giving you. So the customer is always the center of your business. As I always say, my favorite products are the products that sell, and the products that sell are the ones that are what the customer wants. And you can usually see or get clues from what the customer wants by following your own data, looking at what are your best sellers? Why are they doing well? Is it a particular price point? Is it a particular color? Is it a particular attribute of this product, which means the customers really love it? What is it about the product that the customer loves? Which of your sales channels was working best for you? Which of your social media platforms are driving the most traffic? It's really about, I'd say, the sort of successful mindset here is about being objective, being analytical, not getting caught up in a trap. If Instagram isn't working so well for you, shake it up, try different content. If it's no longer seems like it's a high converting platform, look for other platforms. So it's about that ability to look at the business, look at the data, understand what it's telling you, and adjust accordingly. Of course, you want to have a point of view about where your business is going and what you want your business to be. But this is really about having those skill set that allows you to, I don't want to use the word pivot because it's not always about pivoting, but it's about adapting. It's about also understanding the way that the climate's changing, the way that the customer behavior is changing, the way that the things that they wanted in 2020 may not be the things that they want in 2022. So don't rest on your laurels. Don't assume that because something sold previously, it will keep on selling. There's this kind of endless quest with retail to keep doing better. So if you've got a bestseller, can you find a product that sells better than your previous bestseller? And I would say that really describes the characteristics of people who've got successful businesses, is that they're thinking about what's happening and they're following that. So they're looking for clues. This item worked really well. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get it in more colors. This particular pattern worked really well. Okay, I'm going to put it into more of the range. And so they're reviewing, they're adapting, but it's very much that scientific, analytical approach as opposed to saying, getting too much caught up in this kind of, I thought this was going to sell and it didn't, and I feel terrible about it. It sounds like a terrible thing to say, but the nicest possible way, the way you feel about things, it's not as relevant. What's really relevant is the way that the customer feels and does it sell. And I suppose, again, that's the real benefit I've had from spending 17 years in corporate retail, because there was just so many years of that. You would go into a meeting and you'd be assessing the products and it would be very much objective and analytical, because again, it wasn't our businesses, so it's much easier to be a little bit more removed emotionally. So for small business owners, it's how much can you sort of get that separation between you as the business and you as the business owner, and look at the data and make decisions based on what the customer is telling you. So the third thing that I wanted to talk about was managing risk. So that's something, again, that people whose businesses have been more successful or continue to grow or have weathered the storm better, if you like, they've really been able to look at not putting all their eggs in one basket. That's probably the best way that I can put it. So that's been about not being over-reliant on any particular one thing. So, for example, Instagram, I know I've mentioned it before, but I know it's something that people spend a lot of time thinking about. And I'd say that the people who've been most successful have, behind the scenes, maybe for a while now, been working on all the different elements and the ways of promoting their business. So they've been looking at things like their SEO. They've been looking at things like the PR, the press that they've got. They've been working on their email marketing, so that's set up really well. They've been working on their paid advertising, but they've also been working on their organic advertising. They've maybe been looking at influencer outreach. In other words, they haven't been relying solely on one particular element, which does leave you exposed and open to when things like the algorithm changes or Instagram changes its emphasis of what posts it's going to be showing people because it wants to promote more paid posts because it's Christmas or things like that. It also helps them when previously reliable tactics like running Instagram ads or Facebook ads, when that has had blips, like, for example, last year, the introduction of the iOS 14. And because they're not overly reliant on one type of way of getting sales, it's meant that they've just been able to weather that storm a little bit better. It's a really difficult one sometimes. I know we've talked about this in Resilient Retail Club in the group, and it's a tough one because it goes against the idea of being focused. It goes against the idea of you not spreading yourself too thin. And it is quite tricky, especially when you first start out and you don't have a lot of capacity to work on all of these different elements, and maybe you're trying to balance all these different things. So it is something that you have to kind of manage within your own business. But I think the key thing that I want to just get you to think about in the back of your head is that sales are like a machine. It's like, I talk about the sales machine sometimes. There's all of these different moving parts, and there's different cogs, and there's different things that you can build and tweak and improve as you go along. It's not just about doing one thing. And even that can be hard to do. That can be hard to recognize, especially if one element is working. So let's say Instagram is working really well for you. It can be tempting to kind of go all in and not think about these other elements. But one of the things that you can guarantee is that things will change and things will go up and down. Whereas if you've got lots of multiple different ways of communicating with your customer, then it's going to stand you in better stead than having just one simple way of communicating. This also really goes into point number 4. I'd say another characteristic of businesses that have done well in the last couple of years has been that they've got multiple routes to market. So again, this is a tricky one if you've got limited capacity, but it's maybe something that you can think about as a goal, almost thinking about, right, I need to focus for now so I don't get spread too thin. But as something starts working, I need to start adding other pieces in. So I'm building my machine, as it were, over time. So multiple routes to market. For example, it's really obvious when I work with clients who are, for example, 98% reliant on wholesale. That obviously was really hard for them during store closures. Equally, people who are fully direct to consumer through their own website, they also found that really hard when stores reopened and people went back to physical shops, so their sales really dropped off. The people who had both wholesale customers and direct to consumer, it was definitely easier for them. In the same way that it was easier for people who maybe sold across a few different platforms. Maybe they sold on Etsy and not on the high street and their own website. So they were able to switch between the two depending on which was working better at the time. So think about how you can reach your customer, and it's about hedging your bets again and avoiding putting all of your eggs into one basket. Again, if you're at the beginning parts of your business, or you just don't have the capacity to manage multiple elements, then again, that is something that you'll have to overcome. But think about it as a goal, an end goal, to be able to be selling basically directly to the customer as well as wholesale if at all possible, if your pricing works. Not everybody's pricing works. If you're really not set up to sell wholesale and you are going to have to be selling primarily direct to the consumer, again, think about, is there any other way that you can mitigate your risk? Can you look at different sales platforms online, for example, going back to that? But again, I'd say one of the noticeable characteristics of the people who have been doing well is that they've got multiple routes to market. And again, avoiding putting all of their eggs in one basket, because as I said, the only thing that we know is that the future is unpredictable. And the last couple of years have been even more unpredictable than normal. So the best way for us to mitigate our risk as much as possible is to think about these multiple routes, and also then coupling that with the ability to learn and review means that you could set yourself up to be able to look at the different channels and see what's working, flex between them. The final piece of the puzzle, if you like, or the final attribute that I wanted to talk about for successful businesses is loyalty. So the people that I've worked with or I've talked to, that I've spoken with, who've had the best couple of years, a lot of the time it has come back to the strength of their community, the strength of the people around them, because they will have customers who are willing to come and buy from them. They've got loyal repeat customers, people who will come back time and time again. And that makes a really, really big difference. If you think about it, if you've got a very engaged, loyal following, then even if they're not seeing your posts on Instagram, then they may be opening your emails. They may be coming to you even when everywhere else things are quiet. So are you working to build your community and build the loyalty in your business? I was reading an interesting study recently about 2022. It was talking about brand loyalty, and it was in particular talking about a wider trend, which is that more and more people, especially younger customers, are looking to buy directly from brands as opposed to, say, department stores, that kind of thing. They're looking to go direct from the brand themselves. And 59% of them said that they would shop directly with a brand to take advantage of some kind of brand loyalty reward scheme, which I thought was fascinating, because that's a huge percentage. And it was a pretty big study. I think it was about 10,000 people that had been interviewed for the study. So it was pretty big numbers. 59% of people would shop directly from a brand to take advantage of their brand loyalty scheme. So do you have one? Do you have a plan in place for how you are engaging and talking to your most loyal customers? Because that, above all, is your biggest insurance policy against anything, against economic downturn, against uncertainty and fluctuations on online shopping and everything else. Having a group of people who are really loyal to you, who want to buy from you, who are waiting for you to release new products, that is definitely something that has helped a lot of the businesses that I've spoken to that have been able to keep growing. It has often come down to the strength of their community. And the fact that goes hand in hand with knowing what your customer wants, of course, because the more you create what your customer wants, the more you talk to your most loyal customers, the more you're able to really maximize your sales. And if you think about it, if you've got a really good, substantial amount of your sales coming from people who really love you and who love your brand, it just helps insulate you against some of these ups and downs, against people not shopping online as much or not shopping in store as much. It just helps you. It just helps take away some of that uncertainty, some of that volatility that we've really seen in the industry over the last couple of years. So there you have it. What makes a successful product business in 2022? So it would be looking at your profit margins, making sure that they're rock solid, having the ability to learn and review and make changes that really help you follow what the customer wants, really managing your risk. So not putting all of your eggs in one basket, and finding that balance between avoiding spreading yourself too thin, but equally also looking at all of the different ways that you can drive traffic to your website. Thinking about if you need additional routes to market, and really taking care of your loyal customers. You've probably heard me say this statistic before, but 40% of your sales will be coming from your top 8% of your customers. So who are those 8%? Do you know who they are? Do you interact with them? Are you prioritizing interacting with them in 2022 and getting them ready to come back and buy from you more and more? I'd love to hear what you thought about today's episode. I'd love to hear if there's anything that you're going to do as a result of it. Why not hop over to Instagram at Resilient Retail Club, say hi, tell me what you thought. And also I love it when people share pictures of themselves where they are listening to the podcast. So if you're out on a lovely walk or wherever you are, just share a picture. I'd love to see it. Of course, if you want to come along and join us, talk all about planning for 2022, we've got so much to talk about what will be ahead for the year and what will make a successful business in 2022, then come join us for the free 5-day challenge kicking off on Monday, the 24th of January. Head over to resilientretailclub.com/plan 2022 for your free spot. Why not come along and join us? And of course, if you are listening to this on iTunes, you can rate and review the podcast. And actually now Spotify has added in a ratings in the app as well. I read all of the comments and I'm so grateful to everyone who takes a moment to review as well. And of course, if you hit subscribe or follow, you'll be the first to know about each new episode. Until next week, have a good one. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.